Okay, and let me just refresh over here on the Twitter box.
Can I also just check? I've just put on a head.
I'm sorry, Danielle?
Just wanted to check that the sound is okay. I just put on a headset, that it has it.
You sound great. You sound lovely.
And we're all muting when we're not speaking, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So generally, yeah. So as I think we should be ready to go. I'm also going to hit, when I hit the record, we'll be ready to go, and I'll turn it over to David, who will turn it over to Wanda. But then when we're not actually engaging, we'll be keeping the mics off, and I guess keeping the cameras off as well. Suzanne, you were suggesting in the last hour.
Yep. I think it's a good idea to keep your camera off when you're not actually reading. That can, it just makes it a little less distracting. It's more important. It's more important to stay mute. If you go to the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a mute button and a stop video. If you click stop video, your video disappears. If you click it again, then your video comes back.
Great. Terrific. Okay. And we are, I'm told that we are live. We're live in Facebook. I think we seem to be right. Here comes everything on Twitter. So we are good to go. I'm going to begin.
Are you going to record?
Yeah, I'm going to hit record right now.
Okay. And I just posted a little message in the chat window for everyone to look at.
Huh?
Over in the chat window is all this wonderful stuff about where to view the illustrated schedule and the PayPal and the Venmo that was going to help keep all of this stuff going, and hopefully get a Zoom account for, a pro Zoom account for 2021 for Boog. So with that, I turn it over to David.
Thank you, Mr. Mulrooney. And with that, I am going to turn it over to our fiction editor of Boog City, Miss Wanda Phipps, who will be introducing the next few poets and writers. Wanda.
Oh, thank you, David. So the very first person up is Carl Watson. And Carl Watson is a widely published poet and a fiction writer, and I absolutely adore his work. He's received the Kathy Acker Award for Fiction, and you can read an excerpt from his masterful novel, Only Descend, in the current issue of Boog City. And the full novel is coming out from the excellent indie press Atana Media. Please welcome Carl Watson.
Hi, thank you. I'm just going to read an edited version of the excerpt that's in the the latest issue of Boog City. So I'll just start. I want to thank you all for having me. So this is actually the first chapter. The biased blue-gray eye of Frank Payne wandered from the stucco tufted neck of the opera patron to his right, down to the subtitle screen in front of her, then further down to the orchestra seats below, hemmed in as they were by a gilded horseshoe of balconies, then back up to his own subtitle screen where he focused momentarily on the English translation of the German lyrics. Hey there, you forest guardians, and slumberous guardians at that. At least wake up with the morning. Do you hear the call? Frank did. It was a French horn mewing in the pit. It was the Met's sometime Good Friday production of Parsifal, and though Frank was no opera buff, he did like the pageantry, the extravagant production values, and sometimes the music. He also liked the Grail stories, and while there is no crucifixion in Parsifal, the Grail does supposedly hold the blood of Christ, so he guessed the Good Friday scheduling made some sense. Odie was into this stuff as well. She had a morbid interest in masochistic imagery that was not limited to the Christian franchise. Sure, you had your Christ and your Saint Sebastian, but there were plenty of other sacrificial nailings of animals and men over the ages, from Quetzalcoatl to Prometheus. And then there were your everyday human hangings, judicial, racial, suicidal, and beheadings too, you can't forget those, a political, historical mainstay. The crime is predetermined, Odie would say, and the punishment is pain. Put a man in stocks and pelt his head with tomatoes and rocks, or put him on TV in front of a panel of sadistic clowns. We're exhibitionists by birth, and the price for our sins must be paid in public. The message from the top is always the same. Be careful, people. Look what we can do if we want. Anybody could be next, maybe even you. Frank felt that whatever ritual truth there was at the Met this evening, it had something to do with masochism as some kind of bridge between love and lamentation, shame and salvation, peace of mind and peace of ass. The last item may seem hard to justify, but opera was sexy, if only because it was voluptuous. It was also punishing. There was tedium and confinement to deal with, and for some, the enjoyable humility of being a spy amongst the rich. Not least, there was the colonization of the mind by ridiculous melodramatic plots. Going to the opera could thus be seen as voluntary martyrdom and therefore appropriate to Good Friday, even without the cross nonsense or the passion and all that. There, he had solved the puzzle. It was time to go home. But he decided to stay a little while longer. After all, if you're going to spend your life making decisions that work against your own well-being, you had to be willing to endure pain and to be fully aware why. Subscription was required. The dress code was expected. The adoration was somehow assumed. Listen, the king groans, another well-timed remark, because Frank's stomach was starting to groan as well. It may have been that odd piece of old quiche he had eaten earlier, something Odie had made, or a bad ham sandwich left over from the previous week. Whatever it was raising a gaseous clown head in his gut. Frank looked up at the chandeliers couched in the dark ceiling. The chandeliers at the Met always fascinated him. The way they slowly retracted before the opening overture, like the old ornate testicles of a bejeweled and ancient race, contracting, pulling back, frightened perhaps not so much by the approaching drama as by the audience itself with their insane human needs. Suddenly, Frank felt the people around him at the opera house were watching him, commenting on his low moral character. He blamed their suspicion on the trivialities of the plot, and he took comfort in a brief feeling of superiority, a pretense without feedback, because no one could read his mind. And yet, recriminations continued from the stage. Are you conscious of your sinful deed? Frank's stomach started grumbling again, even louder, which it often did when he was in a quiet room. The hyperactive intestinal distress sounded something like an earthquake disaster movie soundtrack at odds with the opera he was watching, and definitely disturbing to his fellow opera patrons. And the Rolaids Frank had taken earlier weren't really helping. He took some gas tablets too, but no result. The woman sitting next to him did not hide her disgust. Then he saw one of the ushers take out a flashlight, and it became clear that he would soon be asked to leave. Fortunately, he had a cheap, high balcony seat, so it was easy to get out. He stood up, walked up the aisle toward the back, and slid out the door. The libretto of the opera followed him like a trial lawyer. He didn't even need to read it. Where are you from? Who is your father? Who sent you here? What is your name? I don't know. I don't know. I've had many names, but I don't remember any of them anymore. Frank made a visit to the restroom. It took a while and it was unpleasant. Then he headed across the velvet landscape of the opera house hallway. The ushers were a bit surprised to see someone leaving so early, so he made a point of looking at his watch with feigned urgency, pretending he had someplace to be, a meeting or family tragedy or a flight to catch. He was an important guy after all. He descended the blood-red carpeted staircase that led to the main door, where he burst out into the free air of Lincoln Center Plaza. It was an early evening of faded light and spring drizzle. He passed the Revson Fountain. He crossed Columbus Avenue, then entered Dante Park, the little pocket park outside Lincoln Center with the Dante statue. Years ago, while traveling in Europe, Frank picked up the habit of talking to statues late at night. If you were drunk enough, you could hold lengthy conversations with stone-faced celebrities, grim reapers, satyrs, fauns, dead philosophers, famous politicians, and mythical heroes. And so, continuing this tradition, he looked up to the bronze 18th century pilgrim and gave him a brothers in hell nod. Selva oscura, Frank said, that being one of the few phrases he remembered from the long poem he'd only partially read. Selva obscura, your mama, the statue seemed to reply. It might as well have said, abandon all hope, asshole, or that way madness lies, or any number of other literary warnings. Frank began to walk away, but thought he heard one last admonition from the old Italian, this time delivered in an affected outer borough accent. Good luck, bro. And then, like a true New Yorker, the statue added, don't forget to check out my book. Thus began Frank's downgoing and the long trip home to his sweetheart and nemesis, Odie Bones. Well, thanks. That's the first chapter. Sort of.
Thanks, Carl. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. And the next reader is Danielle Legros George. And I just realized that I haven't seen her since we both met at the Darkroom Collective reading years and years ago in Boston. She's a writer and translator, and she also directs the Lesley University MFA program in creative writing, and she was Boston's Poet Laureate. Here's Danielle Legros George.
Thank you, Wanda. Hello. And thank you, organizers. Happy to be sharing this space with you and with the readers. I'll read 4 poems, the first of which appears in this issue of Boog City, and it's entitled Transubstantiation. The poem's first 2 lines are drawn from a poem by Savannah Sipple. Transubstantiation. I made a deal with myself and went to Rome to buy a rosary. Being the good Catholic I am, I married ritual and desire to see the Pope's ruby slippers, the Vatican archives, the yellow bright road of redemption. What is salvation without original sin? Badness before being bad. When Michael sang, I'm bad, you know it, he meant good, good, so sublime. He knew the heat of sin, the pontiff's cassock under which cherubim and choir boys, sweet angels sang the glory of the Lord, sang the body of Christ, sang the blood, bungled the beads of the rosary, witnessed the smoke of the faithful going up, up, up. Still life with orbs. Between the thing and the name of it is a world, and a world behind this world. There is my mask placed on the table. There is the wooden table and the space beneath it. There is an orange on the floor when it should be on the table in the yellow basket meant for oranges, but which contains a cat licking one front paw. What do cats know of oranges? What do birds know of water unless they plunge their beaks into it, breaking some poor fish's sleep? What do fish know of birds except the slash of bill, the sudden flash, the stop? This next poem is entitled Intersection. I wrote it 10 years ago I'm Haitian, and I wrote it after the devastating earthquake in Haiti, in which more than 200,000 people lost their lives in a very short span of time. And I can't help but draw a parallel between what is taking place here with the coronavirus and pandemic and the loss of life now, and the loss of life, the scale of it in Haiti. Back then, I was asked to write a poem that would go into a magazine that would contribute to relief efforts. And I found that I found it really challenging, in part because I felt that those lives could not have been lost, or didn't need to be gone. Those people didn't need to be gone, but were gone as a result of compromised government, structural violence, systemic racism, both in Haiti, and now we're seeing the same phenomena with the coronavirus. So this is the poem that emerged back then. It's entitled Intersection. The earth shook. A portal opened. I walked through it. The earth shook. A portal opened. I walked through it. The earth shook. A portal opened. I walked through it. The earth shook. A portal opened. I walked through it. I walked. The earth shook. A portal opened. I walked through it. Ash. The earth shook. A portal opened. I walked through it. Earth. The earth shook. A portal opened. I walked through it. I walked through it. I walked. The earth shook. A portal opened. I walked through it. I walked. Earth. Ash. The earth shook. A portal opens. I walk through it. I have time for two more, so just to shift gears a little bit. This is only. Nature hides the most beautiful design, the norm, the anomaly, the rare, the rarest, which is to say, the only. And aren't we each, twins even, only? And the last poem, willing. Should there be a shift in this weather? Should a thunderbolt expose its fierce arm to us? Should the past and present clash, birth some other sense of being? Then yes, build me a city. I will scale its walls, survey its hills, read all the books there are, lick every vat of cream, heat milk till it's frothy, then flat, then float in it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle. It was beautiful. The next reader is Elena Jennings, and Elena is a wonderful poet, fiction writer, translator, and a dear friend. And her novel, Temporary Shelter, is forthcoming from Cervena Barva Press, and an excerpt from it has appeared in Boog City. And she also runs the Poets of Queens reading series, which just started publishing books as well. Please welcome Elena Jennings.
Thank you, Wanda, for that introduction, and thank you to the organizers. The first two poems I'll read are from a series called Measuring Time. They take their titles from names of medication. Klonopin. You were sitting in class reading Andruchovich. Was it the father or daughter when you felt a fog settle over you? You should have been reading A Tale of Two Cities, but you felt yourself grow distant from the world when you couldn't reach your pen, your desk, and the soft pages of your textbook. You raised your hand when called upon, no sound escaped from your lips, or you started to say something you had read, a fabulous quote. Instead of your words, you could distance yourself from your own body. After class, you moved in slow motion through the hallway as waves of children parted so you could pass through, moving between herds adorned with sneakers. Lithium. It started with tactile hallucinations, scaring me with the feeling of pilled fabric in my hand, swimming, a rose blossom between my fingers, or maybe it was a poppy, something red and bloody. It started at the swimming pool. Knowing how to swim was a memory. I reached for the edge. I closed my eyes and still saw the rectangle, the borders that would save me. It was a slow loss, forgetting my body. I was standing by my rented locker, shivering. Someone asked me if I was okay. Could I be okay while shaking so hard to slip my key into the lock? It seemed everything around me was pure cold, that by shaking, I was the key trying to fit inside the lock. Sometimes I would hallucinate the notebook. I could feel the lined paper beneath my fingers. Sometimes I could feel the shapes of the words as they crept up into my skin. I would write the same thing over in different ways. The next two poems are from a series about a friendship. When there were seeds in packets, wildflowers are clipped from within the loom, under and over. We spill them on the ground. The petals feel like rugs I keep on the balcony. They might fly off towards Asia's back as she leaves. My body dangles down towards her like a piece of fabric flapping against the railing. Her note blows off the table, the letters winding through the loom, spilling out, so our bare feet walk over their hardware store shapes, screws and nails. The loom made by sawdust sticky in the envelope like confetti when she tells me it's forever. She is not turning back to happy hours and cocktails and snowy globes. The moments we shared melt away, plucked like wildflowers. Grand Avenue Mall parking lot. Asia pulled into the lot in her grandmother's Camry. We parked next to the puzzle box so we could shop for yo-yos and kites. Taking the elevator, we watched the plastic bear balance steins of beer across a tightrope. In the food court, I saw Rocky near Rococo's. We loved our city. Later, we parked in the lot when we went to the concert. Then tickets were pieces of cardstock that she rejoiced over when she received them like greetings. At the concert, I remembered the grand piano in Asia's house, though she never seemed to play. There were always the keys calling to her like a phantom's teeth. Their family friend who played rode a motorcycle and looked like Patrick Swayze. We slept over in his house once. We were location sluts. We wound our bodies around each other, sticky thigh against thigh. And the next poem, which will be the second to last, is entitled Burrow, and it was published in Sensitive Skin magazine. We were trapped inside. We used to throw our cigarette butts out the window. We were leaving pieces of ourselves everywhere then. The soles of my shoes crumbled and the threads of my shirts unraveled. He came to see me in the middle of summer when my clothes peeled away from the sweat. I had these lovers then, the kind I didn't have conversations with or had the simple conversations I had with my grandparents about dinner because their English wasn't that good. I met them on the Lower East Side in bars where we couldn't hear each other anyway. Once I wore a dress made out of old curtains and I carried a silk flower that the girlfriend of a former crush had gotten me for my birthday. He eclipsed into her and I settled for anyone. I never left and my lover did lines of cocaine on my table and showed photos of ultrasounds. His eyes were similar blotches of light. I knew then that a baby was impossible and that the flowers he would bring me on my birthday would be fake. And the last poem, I looked at the doll in the folk costume on his shelf. And this one was benefited from the edits of David Mills. So thank you, David. I think he is the one who complimented my purple velvet. I didn't wear it in honor of him. He had thin gray hair. He served me soup made from celery that had no taste and was so thin that it was hard to keep the liquid in the silver spoon. Most of all, I remembered his white sheets, bleached enough to be medicinal. In the morning, his mother called and he turned from the collection on the shelf. She was going to the hospital to be welcomed by a sterile white gown that would fold around her sick body. Later, maybe I was looking for that man in an old woman's image. The angles of her face were the same. I remembered that he turned to take out a record. There was that line that seemed to extend to the sharp corners of the jacket. I saw her and matched those lines. It wasn't him, but he would often press his ghost to strange faces. Thank you.
Thanks, Elena. So next up, we're going to have some music by Mr. Todd Karlstrom. Todd?
Hello, hello. You got me? Hello, hello. How are you? I want to make sure everybody hears me. All right. Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Todd, and I think today I'm going to be doing stuff that I've been doing for years. I just feel like playing stuff from way back, other bands I've been in, and a couple of covers too. And this is actually a cover I've never done live before. It's by a band called Love Spit Love, which is like the Psychedelic Furs when grunge came along, repurposed themselves as grunge. It actually worked out pretty good. Good tune, I think. too much that I keep to myself, and I turn my back on my faith. It's like glass when we break. I wish no one in my place, and I see you don't need their scenes when their day goes in deep, and I'm lost in sleep. I can't stand in this place. I can't stand when the moon turns round on my face. You give love guarantees, but there's no promise I can keep. I can't stand and I can't see my way. I feel blind on my feet, and I'm lost in sleep in this love. Goodbye, lay the blame on 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 love. Can't see in this room. Night comes, will the night fall? Can this moon that's so pale on your face, you let life get in your way? And I've seen you don't need their scenes, and their day goes in deep, and I'm lost in sleep in this love. Goodbye, lay the blame on 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 love. All right, this next song is by a band I was in called Heroes of the Alamo. We never released it. We recorded it and just never came out. And I wonder if I'm a little bit embarrassed by it because the guy who is the narrator is a bit of an incel. But here we go anyway. When I was 6, I found the list entitled All the Women That I'll Ever Sleep With. It was woefully short, as I was world-wise for my age. I had a sense of life as one long disappointment. So I turned on my TV and it leaves me, and it leaves me. My college sends a supplement providing flattering photos of girls I'll run into. I read their names to my dog and check them off against my list, convinced that for my lonely years I'll never live through. What's so wrong with me? And it leaves me, and it leaves me, and it leaves me, and it leaves me, and it leaves me. Desperate needs that lay me low, they wash my hands and watch you go. Stay with me a little while, that's all I'm made for. Yeah. And when I really think of it, it's kinda sad that I'm not the one you come home to. But sometimes you just know. And it leaves me, and it leaves me, and it leaves me, and it leaves me down where I fall. When I fall, it's always tuck and roll. Down where I fall, when I fall, it's down, down, down. This is another cover. Wasn't gonna do this one today, but I'm hopeful that some friends of mine who know this song, who never get to see me live because of geographical concerns, will be able to finally see me play it. This is another one I recorded and never released. It's by the Archers of Loaf. It was originally written for piano. South of the river's mouth, migration slopes slowly toward mainland. There, the salt air fills the gills of the dead baiten hand. The deepest in riot, the Coast Guard is quiet. sleeping divided in bands, while beer halls all revel, drunk and disheveled, helplessly waiting. The devil is down and they're chumming the oceans. The signal is sent, received and responded to. The water is red, 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 red. We're down, down as the hand of God chokes the driftwood with dead weight and brine, spawning the detailed decline via dorsal cut, hook, sink, and line. The anchors have settled, the tanks are full level, the flag has been raised, half-mast on the bow. The harpoons are loaded, the cage has been lowered, the masks on the diver is down. Now when they're chumming the oceans, the signal is sent. I think he's in trouble. The water is red, 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 red. All right, I'm bald, so here's a rock song. Beautiful, beauty blessed, not felt for how long, who it affects, who exists, and I don't know how. Diamond hair, your time is here. Yeah, yeah. Dutiful girl, don't tread. Tell it to them. and rides the cavalry, draws a curtain across the sky, draws her, and I only give it half a chance, say. You only give it half a chance. Aurelian chemistry. Aurelian chemistry. Aurelian chemistry. Beautiful girl, don't you have enough? Would you have it out with me if I sent out the signal to participate? No. If I filled out the form that says that it's okay when you're wide awake, and I only give it half a chance, say. Yeah, I only give it half a chance. Aurelian chemistry. Aurelian chemistry. Aurelian chemistry. Yeah, Aurelian, yeah, Aurelian. When you try to want it, still our time's so haunted. Who died? Who's right? Whose God is falling? You see the writing on it. You deflect the comet like a curtain drawn across the sky. It's your, it's your, it's your alien, it's your alien, it's your alien, it's your alien. Looks like I got at least one more, so I'm gonna keep going. This is another song. That last song was on Gold on the Map, the most recent record I've put out. It was recorded by Major Matt Mason USA, who is playing later today at 5:10 p.m. So make sure you check him out. Close friend, and I miss him on this coast. But this is another song from that album. It used to also be played by Heroes of the Alamo. And by the way, I want to thank David and everyone else involved with Boog. And I want to thank Andrew Svensson for lending me the USB interface that lets me do this. You're a mess, my love. Scatter pictures of where we are now, next to where we were when you were hopeful. I could be so much more. What we left, my love, tattered journals Poems that at best need an editor, at worst need a therapist. I don't trust either one. But anyway, when I see you cry without reason, I feel it too. When the rage subsides without reason, I find peace in you. I'm scared to upset you in any way. But anyway, we're a mess, my love. Rip up pictures of memories we won't ever live through. I'd give you it all if I thought you'd believe the lie. You're a mess. You're a mess. You're a mess. All right. If I'm not being stopped, I will play another song.
Yeah, one more, Todd.
Great.
You're rolling.
Thank you. Let me see. I'm gonna play a song by Robin Hitchcock. I gotta make sure I know the words. So forgive me this, but I'm gonna put some sheets here and get this right. It seems like you were in a glass hotel. It seems like there was someone else as well. It seems like seems like you were in a glass hotel. It seems like everything was going well. It seems like a dream. Well, the radio was playing
In the darkness of the hall, there was someone standing with you who just wasn't there at all, and you were laughing. Well, the telephone was ringing in a corridor of blue. A geranium came out of it, reminded me of you, and you were crying. Seems like you were in your glass hotel. It seems like there was someone else as well. It seems like a dream. Well, there's nothing in the future. There's nothing in the past. There is only this one moment, and you've gotta make it last. And you were laughing in a glass hotel. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, and thank you, Boog City.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks all of our 1 o'clock hour folks. We're gonna go away for a few minutes and then come back at 2 o'clock with some readings from other bookworks and some more folks. See you in a bit.
Terrific. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to end the recording now. Take care.